All right, bear with me for a second. What if I told you guys that compositions in TFT don't really matter? We're going to show that in a very interesting game I played right here. This game, we're going to end up going Draven. So I told you guys before, like, I love Draven. I have a Draven-only account that I went from, like, unranked to Diamond with. And we're going to have more Draven games in the future as well. We're going to take it to Masters, Grandmasters, and hopefully even Challenger. I just need to play on that account a little more because I haven't played on that server in quite a while. But today, we are going to show you guys that a lot of these Draven comps don't really need anything else other than Draven. It's Draven plus Mordekaiser plus Ryze, and then literally any other 5 units that you could think of. And we are going to prove that right here. This game was a little fun. It was a little different than what I normally do, but I think there's a lot of learning potential in this game because it shows that sometimes you don't need specific comps to play TFT. A lot of times when you're like lower ranked, it's much easier just to follow a very specific composition guide. However, once you get higher up, you need to be a little more flexible. You need to be able to think of things that are like pretty good, not super optimal, but if they show up in your shop, you need to be able to buy them. And we're gonna go over an example of that game right here. So starting off, we are going with 2 swords and a rod. Normally, I like to base my early compositions off of what items I get, and stage 2-1 is a perfect time to do that. You could even wait till 2-2 because you do get an armory there, and that'll give you even more time to decide what comp you want to go for. So right now we have a Callista. I'm going to keep the sword on her because she's a great holder for most attack damage items. She could hold AP items as well, and attack speed. She's pretty much one of the best item holders in the early game, in my opinion. But this guy's got a bunch of 2-stars, so we probably are going to lose this game. Actually, never mind. Somehow our full 1-star team was able to beat this, but back to the topic before, you want to choose your composition based on what items you have. So with 2 swords, we're probably leaning towards some sort of attack damage composition. In this next shop, we see a bow and a tear here. You could go into Karma right now with a tear plus a sword for a Shojin, and then you have a rod for some Karma items, but I'm going to opt to go for the bow. We get a 2-star Callista right there. That's exactly what we're looking for. We picked up the brand in the last round before the game ended, and that's just to get the chance of getting the Abomination start, which is very good with Callista. I'm going to pick up the Nidalee. I could still run some sort of Dawnbringer comp with these items, but we don't have to do that quite yet. So I'm going to end up slamming the Shadow Giant Slayer. Whenever I have 4 more components, I like to just build them, especially if I'm going for Draven. When I'm playing Draven, I like to slam as many items as I can as early as possible in order to get some sort of power spike from them. Ideally, you get like some sort of Last Whisper item. I think those are the best on him, but you don't need stuff like that. I feel like the Shadow Giant Slayer is actually one of the hidden OP items in this set right now because it gives you 50% more damage against targets with 1100 or more health. And if we look at a lot of units, like most 2-stars have more than 1100 health. And if you're facing a lot of brawlers, if you're facing a lot of Warmogs is really popular in this meta. Anything above 1100 health, you are going to be able to do a lot of damage to them. Keep in mind, like, the regular Giant Slayer, you need to reach a threshold of 1750, so that item you can't really play in that many games. But I feel like the Shadow variation is very strong because, again, it works in most situations. Like, pretty much everyone on this guy's team, except for the Vayne and the Victor, are able to get hit by this Shadow Giant Slayer. Unfortunately, not enough for us to win this game, but let's see what we can get on this carousel. So what I'm thinking is getting that Shadow Spatula for a Forgotten Spatula, but that one got taken. Alternatively, I could go for an Infinity Edge, or just grab a belt item in order to build Mordekaiser. So one very important thing about the Draven compositions is that you can't forget about Mordekaiser. You can't just all in on Draven and be happy with that because you need a secondary carry because he only hits 1 person at a time unless you get a Runons. But belt, very good in this meta because pretty much all compositions, they really love Warmog. So that's why I love the item myself. So I'm going to swap in Lee Sin. I'm going to level up because then we get 2 Nightbringers and 2 Dawnbringers. Maybe there's like a slightly better board we could do with some brawlers, but I feel like this is the best right now. We do have 2 sets in our shop, but I'm going to go ahead and ignore those. So unlucky for me, I wish I took the tier off the last armory because this was a pretty good Karma game. We could have had Shojin and then a rod item, and then we ended up getting a lot of Dawnbringers to start off the game, but I didn't really know what my shops would be like before the armory happened, so that's why we're stuck with this Shadow Giant Slayer. So we're probably going some sort of attack damage comp, which is either Aphelios or Draven at this point in the game. So we end up winning this round, and we could probably sell 2, 4, 6. We could sell both the sets and the brand and a Warwick to get up to 10 gold. I opt not to because if I ever hit a Nunu, I'm going to really regret selling all those guys. If there's a choice to sell only the brawlers or only the brand to get to 10 gold, I think I would have done that, but selling both of them seemed like a little bit of a stretch. So the reason why we have like no gold this game is because I'm playing a lot of 3 costs in my team. If you look at it right now, Nidalee, Lee Sin, and Yasuo, that costs like 9 gold already. That's why we're pretty poor. So that, along with a big bench, means we are not getting that much interest this game. So when you ever have like a very low gold opener or like team, like I think we got a lot of gold in this particular game, but since our board ended up being so expensive, we like at the end of the day, we just don't have that much gold in our actual bank account. Feels bad, but whenever you're in one of those situations, you need to especially pay more attention to what's in your shop and really maximize the potential of everything there, because you're not going to have like 40 gold to roll down with on level 8. You're not going to have 50 gold to roll down with on level 7. So you really have to maximize the potential of each of your shops, which means you have to take any 2-star you can get. It makes playing the game like a little more difficult, but sometimes you just have those games where you don't get a lot of gold, and this is going to be one of those. So we end up getting a spatula, a critical strike. So those 2 items are pretty good. I'm probably just going to build the Infinity Edge. That seems like a no-brainer to me. And I'm also going to pick up this Riven, because Riven is both a Legionnaire and a Dawnbringer, so I could just replace the Gragas with that. Next turn, we're going to be leveling up to level 6 because it's stage 3-2. I go over this in my leveling guide before. I'll leave a card up there for you guys just in case you want to check that out. But typically, I level up to level 6 on 3-2 pretty much with any composition I am playing, apart from once cost reroll builds. But the most important thing, whenever you are leveling up, you need to look for things to put in during that round. So if we look at our synergies on the left, we have 3 Legionnaire and 2 out of 3 Skirmishers. So I probably want to put in either a Skirmisher or a Legionnaire to round out my team at level 6. So hopefully we see one in our next shop. If not, we might have to roll a tiny bit. But we do get an armory here. I'm going to take the Shadow Belt. We have enough damage items already. We have an Infinity Edge and a Shadow Giant Slayer. I don't need the extra sword for even more damage because I need to find some sort of balance in my team. Most people who checked out my advanced tips to climb video, you guys already know like you need a balance of both offense and defense, and since we already have a lot of offense, we need to add some defense with that Shadow Warmugs right now. We picked up the Trundle in the shop, put him in. He's going to round out for 3 Skirmishers. Unfortunately, this guy has a Katarina 2-star somehow with the blue buff, so I don't I don't think we are going to be winning this game because Katarina is an absolute smurf, and yeah, she destroyed our team here. Hopefully we're able to get a bunch more kills before she completely knocks us out, but doesn't quite look like it. Okay, never mind. We could squeeze a few more kills here. How did that? Okay, we get the Gragas there. Kha'Zix lives with 1 health, but that's okay. This guy, wow, he's gonna have a great game. Tay Mon Khan, let's see how he does by the end of it, because Katarina's 2 at this point in the game is really nice. So here we get another Nidalee. I'm gonna go ahead and pick her up because it doesn't cost us interest to do so. And then now let's get into the next match. We are facing a Skirmisher player. A lot of people are doing reroll Skirmishers. I'm actually a big fan of the build. He somehow hit Lee Sin 2 already without pressing the roll button once. So 2 people in this lobby, they hit 2-star 3 costs without really rolling too much or spending too much gold. I'm a little jealous of that because that's going to make our game a little more difficult. Hopefully we might even be able to pull out the win because we have a lot of good items, and luckily we are, thank God, because with our low econ right now, we need as many wins as possible to preserve our health. In TFT, you like having one of 2 things. You either want a lot of health or a lot of gold. Preferably both, but you know, that doesn't always work out. We'd love that Mordekaiser with a critical strike glove, but unfortunately not able to get that. So I think I'm going to grab another belt there. Pantheon's a good skirmisher, so I could play him over the Trundle, and we could just settle like that. Also, again, since we have 2 offensive items already, I still want to build another defensive item before committing to my 3rd offensive if I can help it, and this is just one of those situations where I can afford to make that decision. So we finish off stage 3, losing the round after Carousel and winning the one right before the neutral round. We end up picking a Nidalee 2-star there. There really wasn't anything interesting in our shop, so so that's why I skipped over those rounds. We got another Rod, a Negatron, and a Tear. Not the best items, but they are still usable. We're going to level up to level 7 and roll down a little bit here because we need to find something a little stronger for our team right now. And we see another Pantheon there, so I do want to pick him up. I'm going to sell that Aatrox, and here we go. We find a Draven, and we find a Pantheon. So this Pantheon is a little weird to build, but there are some 4 Dragon Slayer builds you could use with Draven, so that's why I felt comfortable building that. I could always sell him later. You only lose a gold from selling an upgraded unit, and he's pretty strong on our board right now, this Pantheon, because we do have the Skirmishers. I'm going to build a Sacrificial Redemption on him. Not the best item, not the worst item, but we do really need to be building something. So the reason why we need to build stuff is because we had 6 item components, I think, And that's why I built 2 items. I built the Shadow Redemption and the hat. So the hat's going to go on Mordekaiser. It's not the best item on him, but it's pretty decent, especially with the Shadow Warmog. So I'm going to use Lee Sin as my item holder. Lee Sin loves having tank items and ability power items, so he makes like a perfect sense item holder for our Mordekaiser. If I won, I would have sold the left side of my board, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And here we see something very interesting. I'm going to take the Shadow Fawn just because it's fun. I think regular Force of Nature might be better. Shadow Fawn's really good if you have a lot of gold, but we don't really have too much this game. The reason why you need a lot of gold whenever you have a Shadow Fawn is because you need a lot of 2-star units to make it effective. And since we don't have that many quite yet, it is a little risky to get. Luckily, we get a 2-star Yasuo, I think it was, and we get the Diana to put in for fun. So you might notice I rolled a lot here. I rolled pretty much to 0 gold. And the reason why I did that is because whenever you're running a Shadow Fawn, you are going to be taking double damage. So you better make sure your team is strong, and the earlier you do it, the more worth it that roll is. So we're not able to get Draven 2, which is fine. I'm going to hold on to the Nightbringers most likely because we have a 2-star Yasuo and almost a 2-star Lee Sin. And unless we get Mordekaiser, we're not going to be able to replace the Lee Sin quite yet. And since we're only level 7, it's pretty unreliable to hit Mordekaiser, even 1-star, because 4 costs are pretty hard to find at this stage in the game. Specific 4 costs, that is. So we're able to win that round there. I'm going to pick up this additional Ryze. We have a lot of pairs on our bench right now. I think 3 pairs, 4 pairs, which is a little unfortunate. Hopefully we are able to find some of these soon. I don't like rolling below 10 gold, though. That's why even though we have the Shadow Fawn, I'm not rolling down to 0. I think I'm going to roll down to 10 every single round until we get more comfortable with our upgrades. Our team's okay right now. It's not the best, it's not the worst. Really, it's just Pantheon, Lee Sin kind of carrying our team. I don't even think our Draven is doing that much quite yet. I think it's just like the Skirmisher and Nightbringer tankiness that really buys a lot of time for our team to really ramp up. So here we're able to squeeze a win against a Heimerdinger player. The reason why we were able to win, look at his bench. He's got 5 items there, all unbuilt. You could just build Warmogs and Gargoyle Stoneplate. I love those items personally. Not sure why he didn't build them quite yet. So on this carousel, we need to complete some items. We have a Negatron on our bench, so maybe a Gargoyle for us would be nice too, but we are not able to get that. I think maybe the glove on the Kale would be the best, but that got taken too. And then the Shadow Chain got taken, so we don't really have a choice. We're just going to go for the Rod, but it's actually perfect that that happened because look at this. We get a Lee Sin 2. And this Lee Sin 2 with the Shadow Fawn is going to be really, really effective for us because, again, whenever you have Shadow Fawn, you just need 2 stars. Doesn't really matter what synergies you're running. I'm running a Draven comp right now, and I have 4 Nightbringer. Nightbringer doesn't even share a synergy with Draven, who is our primary carry, which just goes to show that you really just need 2 stars whenever you have a Shadow Fawn. A lot of people make a mistake. So Mortdog released a little bit of data recently. I wish I had the replay of it, but you guys just have to trust me on this. Even though Shadow Fawn is one of the highest win rate items in terms of winning rounds, it's actually pretty low in terms of average placement or average LP gain for most players. And the reason behind that is because you end up taking double damage, so you might win a lot of rounds, but you don't actually help your LP gains by running a Shadow Fawn, which is very interesting to me because normally winning rounds leads to a lot of LP gain. I think people are just using it wrong. You have to roll very aggressively in order to really make the item work. So hopefully if you guys ever get this item in your game, which is honestly pretty rare, I think I've only built it maybe like 5 times this set already in like 100 games, you really need to know how to use it because if not, you're just gonna take like 30 damage or 40 damage a turn and get knocked out really, really quickly. So this guy is an Aphelios player. He's got 2-star Aphelios. He's going a Nightbringer build because, you know, Aphelios is a Nightbringer. Draven, not quite so much, but I really like this Shadow Giant Slayer. I think it's been giving us a lot of value because pretty much everything on the front line, even some of the 1-stars have more health than 1100, so he just gets a ton of value. And pretty much every frontline 2-star, even if they're like a 1-cost unit like Vladimir, I'm pretty sure they're above the 1100 threshold, so Draven just ends up dealing double damage to them, which is absolutely great. If you guys watch my advanced tips to climb video, you'll know that you want a mix of items that increase your damage in all different categories. So for example, we have damage amplification, which is the Shadow Giant Slayer. We have critical strike, which is the Infinity Edge. We have attack damage, which is like a Death Blade. And we have attack speed, which is like a Rage Blade. You want to buff all those up equally and not go all in on one category. And that's why Shadow Giant Slayer is so great because they nerfed Hand of Justice so that they removed a lot of the damage amplification stat giving items in the game. So really your only choice is this Shadow Giant Slayer, which makes it that much better. End up getting the Draven 2 there, which is fantastic. We did roll a lot before. We're able to hit a Draven pair, but not quite the Draven 2-star. So it's pretty fortunate that we're able to hit that Draven 2 right here. So technically we did roll maybe like 40, 50 gold, but we just happened to natural him later in the game, which is really nice, honestly, but we can't say that we just never rolled for it because we're level 7 on 5-1 with only 30 gold. Normally this is a point where people level up to level 8 with around 20 to 30 gold. So econ-wise and rolling-wise, we're pretty on par with what an average game would look like. So we're looking at this guy. He's going the Dragon Slayer Skirmisher build, it looks like. I'm not too big of a fan of Jack's carry. I don't think he is either. He has a Dragon Spatula on his bench. I think he should equip that on someone. But because of that, we're able to smash him pretty handedly. We have a lot of units alive. And another great thing about Shadowfawn is that you almost always win by like 4 or 5 units, which makes you deal 10 to 12 damage to the enemies every round, which is very nice because that is a pretty sizable win. All right, this is an interesting armory. I'm going to take, I think, the Static Stiletto. So Gargoyle Stoneplate of Immortality. This is one of the best early game tank items in the game. It probably is the best one. But late game, it's absolutely worthless. Let's say you're taking... So what this item does is you heal 45 health for every enemy attacking you. So let's say you are being attacked by 5 enemies. 5 times 45, for simplicity's sake, let's just say it's 50 damage. You heal for 250 every like 5 seconds, which honestly is nothing. So that's why it's really horrible in the late game and why you probably shouldn't be using it. That's why I took the Static Stiletto, just to give mana to our Ryze so that he casts a tiny bit faster. Notice how I leveled up here. I leveled up because we have the Shadowfawn, so I want to make my team as strong as possible every round of the game because losing one round means we're losing like 30 life. So we really only have 2 lives even though we're at 61 health, which is a very risky or awkward situation to be in. So you do have to keep that in mind whenever you use this item. Like 61 health, we are the lobby leader, but that doesn't mean anything honestly because we could just lose in 2 rounds. So you have to keep that in mind. If we lose the next 2 rounds, I think we get like 6 or something like that. So yeah, we don't want that happening. So that's why we leveled up that aggressively. Finally, we get a Mordekaiser. It's about time, frankly. Can we even play him quite yet? I honestly rather have this 2-star Lee Sin than this Mordekaiser. I think the only replaceable part of my team is maybe this Nidalee. It doesn't seem like she's doing too much, but I do want to kind of keep skirmishers for at least a little while longer before swapping out my whole team. So this guy's going Yasuo. I think there are 2 Yasuo players in this lobby. A lot of Yasuo players on this patch. I think it's a pretty decent comp. I just don't like going for 3-star 3-cost units. I'm not really good at those types of compositions, which is why I tend to avoid playing them, but we're able to beat him here pretty handedly. So we are developing like kind of a mini win streak with this Shadowfawn, which is really nice because obviously you need to whenever you have this item. So this carousel is interesting. We probably want a 3rd item for Draven or another Mordekaiser item, but which one do we actually need? I think getting a Ryze item is fine too. We could grab another tier item for Ryze. I think I should have gotten the Deathblade though. This is one of the mistakes I made this game. After I took the item, I think I did not see the Deathblade when I was like looking at the carousel items. I think Deathblade is definitely the best item to get here, so definitely made a mistake there. The reason is because we have 3 tank items, only 2 damage items, so you obviously just need more damage on your Draven because we are running a Draven comp. So big mistake there. But on Ryze, the Archangels isn't too horrible. It's just like not as good as an option as what we could have gotten. So we get Zephyred there. A little unfortunate because, again, we take so much damage every loss. And this guy put Zephyr on his Karma for some reason. Don't know why he did that because that is a bit of a grief. But are we still able to win anyways? I think yes we are because this guy itemized kind of awkwardly, to be honest. If he had like a 3rd damage item on Karma, I think he would have won this and may have even knocked us down to like 30 life. So next round we are going to probably not go level 9 at this point in the game. We're missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 upgrades. We only have 5 1-star units on our board, so we definitely need to roll down a little bit to get a stronger team. We saw someone with a Teemo 2-star with like double Chalice right next to him, so that is really scary. I'm gonna move my Diana over to compensate for that. And I'm going to move my team to the back and spread out a tiny bit more to just get away from that Teemo. I'm also going to put my Lee Sin swap to the other side and my Trundle to the left to get the tanks. But unfortunately, this guy swapped as well. So what we wanted was our Trundle to hit his Ivern. But unfortunately, he swapped his team at the last second. And oh, this is a guy that hit Katarina too early. So this guy was able to get a Teemo 2 because he had that great start. I don't know how, guys, but like, we're able to beat him. Honestly, I wish I knew why or how. I know we have a 2-unit advantage on him, but Teemo 2 is one of the strongest carries in the entire game, and he pretty much has perfect items with 2 chalices buffing him up. So honestly, like, your guess is as good as mine as to how we actually won this round. We only have 2 Mystic. It's not like we have like 3 or 4 Mystic, which is where the benefit of Mystic really pumps in. So it's a little bit of a weird situation. I don't know how we beat him. If someone wants to like watch the fight in slow-mo and analyze it, like let me know down in the comments of like specifically why I won it. We also mispositioned because he swapped on us and I didn't think he would swap on us. So I wanted my Trundle in front of his Ivern because Ivern had all his items. But he swapped and put his Rel in front of my Trundle, so I wasn't able to steal Ivern's stats. So now that we already faced the Teemo guy, I'm going to move up a little bit so that we can clump up a little more. Because again, we're not facing his Teemo, so we're not too afraid of any AoEs. And putting Draven on the second row is much better than all the way in the back because he only has 3 range. So if you do it this way, he is much closer to the action and doesn't waste time walking. You don't want to put him on the third row or second from the front. A lot of people have been doing that in previous patches, but look at where this Rel is positioned that we just killed. Rel actually stuns Draven if he's on the second row from the front, so you never really want to end up doing that. But for some reason, a lot of people like doing that, and I never really quite understood why. So we got hit here. See, look at this. We lose 1 round, we go from 61 health to 33. That is the danger of Shadow Fawn, and you know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Luckily, we're able to get a top 4 from it. I think like getting top 4s are really easy with this comp, but you guys do have to keep in mind, we could have like lost twice in a row and have been knocked out of the game long ago. So definitely something that needs to be, or that we need to be a little careful with. So here's an awkward point. I probably should have rolled on 6-1, honestly, but I saved up and went to level 9 instead. But I don't like this play at all because there's not really that many good things to put in. We have 4 Legionnaire, which is a buff, but no one ever plays 4 Legionnaire whenever they run Draven anyways. So that isn't really something that I should be going after. What I should have done instead was fix the problem of having, what was it, 5 1-stars on my team. I think now we have 6 1-stars. And if you have like 60 gold, you're probably going to get a couple of 2-stars. Just some random thoughts there because it seems pretty good mathematically for me. I'm going to put this Shadow Frozen Heart on my Diana. It's going to hit my Draven for a split second, so it's a little awkward, but I think it like disappears after a little bit. I don't know how the math actually works on that mechanic, but I'm assuming whenever you don't see the glacial icon above your Draven, that means the buff is off. And look at that. That guy built a Warmog, so we have 2 Giant Slayers on this Draven. So we just absolutely demolished him with that, which is actually pretty insane because that is like the most value you're ever going to get from regular Giant Slayer when it's against a Warmog's Mordekaiser. It's also really good against Warmog's Garen. I feel like in this meta specifically, both versions of Giant Slayer are really good. Shadow Giant Slayer is a little more versatile, but if a lot of people are running Garen Dawnbringers with Warmogs, Mordekaiser with Warmogs, building regular Giant Slayer is the best item against that because you just end up doing way too much damage to them. I think it's like a 80 or 90% damage amplification, which is just absolutely nuts. So I'm going to keep my strong guys in front of my Draven. I like having Pantheon in front of my Draven because Pantheon's my strongest unit, but it does depend on who I'm facing. Pantheon is good against people with carries such as like Aphelios or Draven who have like decent single target damage. Maybe not so much Aphelios, but pretty much putting Pantheon in front of a Draven just completely negates whatever Draven does because Draven is very bad at killing Pantheon. So I like putting my Pantheon in front of people's primary carries. And I think when I scouted, I saw more on the top right than the top left, which is why I moved it like that. So we are in 3rd place right now. If this guy knocks him out, we are going to be in 2nd place at least. And wow, the guy with Teemo 2 actually went 4th. That is absolutely nuts. Oh, sorry, he went 3rd. Okay, that's not too bad. But I feel like that guy should have done better somehow because he had the early Katarina 2, and then he had the Teemo 2-star very early as well. I don't know how he got 3rd because that's normally one of the strongest late game boards. No brainer to get the redemption here. I'm going to get probably double Shadow Redemption on the Pantheon. Or, oh wait, silly me. I could just play the extra Mordekaiser. I'm going to take out Morgana for this Darius. I think the other guy didn't have ability power. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm going to pick up the secondaries, and hopefully we are able to get the next upgrade in. So he actually does have a jeweled gauntlet. However, Yasuo does not do magic damage. He does mostly true damage. So we don't really need mystics against him, which is why I took it out. So he's running a lot of Legionnaire. Oh, he's the guy with the Warmog's Mordekaiser. So yeah, I moved Pantheon back to the left to tank his Yasuo. And Draven on this Warmogs is just not even a fair contest. And I think from that is enough to win the video game. So look at this comp, guys. I'm going to pause it right here. We are running 4 Dragon Slayer, 1 God King, 4 Legionnaire, 4 Nightbringer, 4 Skirmisher, 3 Forgotten, 2 Assassin. I'm really not running that great of synergies with Draven, but because we had the Shadow Fawn, we had a lot of flexibility in our build. We added in a lot of random units. For example, we have this Lee Sin 2-star that we kept the whole game, and he ended up getting a ton of value for us. This Pantheon absolutely demolished that Yasuo because Yasuo's high single target damage, and Pantheon is pretty decent against that. Even though Yasuo does a lot of true damage, he did a pretty decent job of shutting him down. If we look at the damage charts here, only 2,000 damage from the enemy player's Yasuo, which is kind of nuts if you ask me. Our Diana, I think, also slowed down his attack speed, which is a huge bonus there. But yeah, our team is just a random mix of units. It's just Mordekaiser plus Draven. Actually, not even Mordekaiser this game, but in like 90% of your games, you'll probably have Mordekaiser 2 and Draven 2 in these types of builds. But after that, just pick 6 other units to run with your guy. In this case, we had, I guess, like 8 other units because we had the Shadow Force and Nature. So obviously it depends on your game, but I thought this was a really fun game to share it, of using like random 2-stars that you get throughout the game to end up winning the game. I'm an idiot. We have one more round. All right, so we're back now. Yeah, my bad. I thought we ended the game there. So again, we want our Pantheon in front of his Yasuo, and we want our Diana to hit his Yasuo as well. Probably want to avoid his Trundle. So I don't want my Lee Sin in front of his Trundle, so I'm going to try to swap in a position like that where we don't get hit by his Trundle as well. Need to move my Lee Sin to the other side because Lee Sin slows attack speed, but I don't think we were able to do it fast enough. Luckily, his Trundle has pretty bad targets, and our Pantheon's still in an okay position. Actually, his Yasuo moved in a way that it is going to be hit by our Lee Sin, so Lee Sin puts an attack speed slow. If you're 2 squares away, it hits them, and we are able to destroy him. All right, so now we win for real, I think, because we have Giant Slayer versus this Mordekaiser. And yeah, very interesting type of game, because you don't see this that often, a Shadow Fawn game, but you also don't see keeping Lee Sin 2-star the entire game in a Draven build. And that's what we end up doing here because, again, we didn't have that much gold this game. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. I'm going to be coming out with a Dawnbringer guide and a 3-hour compilation of only playing Karma all the way to Masters. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. So subscribe and click the notification bell for more info on that. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will see you all later. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and of course smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.